All right, lights, camera, action. Let's start the show. Here's a little bit of wedding advice for me to help your love story unfold. Welcome back to your wedding series. This is an episode of topics that we get to share and talk about together in our podcast where we are planning your wedding. Okay. And during so, there are some people who may just love weddings and you are not planning a wedding right now. Hang out with us, stick around. You may learn something that you can share with a friend or the next generations, like your children. Things that you could have done better in your wedding or things that could have been super awesome. You are in a community now where you get to share all of that and your expertise. Okay. So we are going to be planning your wedding from 14-year-old you. Now, I've already fast forwarded to the age in which you got engaged because we are in season 2, episode 10. But if you are curious and interested about financial stability and financial success when it comes to having a wedding, as well as starting your marriage and getting on your feet, make sure that you look at season 1 because season 1 talks all about that, as well as accountability and having mentorship, like people in your life that are couples that can mentor to you, that can help you along the way. Okay, because this thing called life, it's like it's not easy, it's not easy at all. So I want you to have some tools to be a little bit more prepared for adulthood. Okay, and even if you already are an adult, it's going to be tools that you can share with other people that you know are coming up behind you trying to become adults in this thing called life. Okay. So it's not just about weddings, it's also about marriage. Because when we talk about weddings, it's really also talking about marriage and being an adult. Okay. Being a real life adult. So enough chitter chatter about what the series is about. Let's go ahead and jump into season 2, episode 10. And today's topic is Keep It or Leave It, Wedding Traditions Edition. All right, so that's a lot of ishin going on, but this is the Wedding Traditions Edition. Okay, I love games. I don't know about you guys, but I love a good game. And so that's what we are going to be talking about today. Keep it or leave it. Things about traditions that you want to either keep or leave it behind. All right. We don't need to use every single little thing when it comes to traditions and make our weddings 2 hours long. I mean, you can if that's what you really want, but you have to think about your guest. Okay. You have to think about your guests. I know it's your day, but you do want to think about the people that are sitting there for 2 hours watching your ceremony go on for 2 hours. You may want to have an intermission. You may want to have some sort of intermission if you're going to have a wedding that's going to go on for that long. Just saying. So, in talking about the timing of the ceremony and things that go into the ceremony itself, that's what we're going to focus more on today is traditions that go into that. Maybe on a different episode we will talk about the reception portion, but this is going to be very heavily focused on traditions in the ceremony portion, not so much the reception portion. Now, if you would like to discuss the traditions that go on in the receptions traditions, and we want to play another game called Keep It or Leave It, let's do it. Put it in the comments. Let me know that you guys want to do a part 2 to this, and we will do a part 2 to Wedding Traditions Edition. Keep it or leave it. Let's jump into our notes. Okay, so let's get into some of our and discussing what traditions that we would like to keep and what traditions that we wish most people would get rid of, just ourselves. So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. People can do whatever they want with their wedding. We know that they can do whatever they would like. So we aren't going to be telling them what to do wedding. So let me get in here into my notes so that we can get started. Everything went kind of crazy in here. And you guys know the drill. Feel free to chat along in the chat with me if you got something that you would like the chat so that we can talk about it, especially when we're talking about specifically this topic of keep it or leave it. Okay. So let's make sure that it's focused on that and not a bunch of other stuff. I want everybody to remember to grab your notes, grab your notebook. Remember, we did talk about our tools that we are going to be using in our wedding planning. So grab your notebook, grab your digital notebook, whatever it might be. If you have the handheld, you guys know I like the handheld. I'm very traditional. I like something that I can touch, like paper and pen. So, and pencils, all the good stuff, markers and all that good stuff. But if you're doing the digital way, grab your spreadsheet and all that. So grab your notebook and grab your honey, because this trying to set up traditions is also about the fiance. And I know a lot of people think that weddings are just about the bride. Oh, only the bride this whatever she wants. Guess what? It's also about the groom. And so many times I'm seeing that it's just these women out here planning their weddings, and the guys are just coming along for a ride. Well, hello, they are a part of this day too. So let's make sure that we are including them. So go ahead and grab your honey and grab your notebook. I'll wait. All right, hopefully you have everyone in place and you have your notebook and you are ready to go. First tradition that we are going to talk about is processional order. When it comes to the processional order, most of the time that you'll see at the wedding is that the bride is going to be last. You will see a slew of different orders at different weddings, and you'll have to decide if that's what you want. Sometime you will see the flower girl come out first, and then you'll have the bridesmaids, and then you will have the bride. And on occasion, you will see the bridesmaids all come out first, and then the flower girl, and then the bride. This is all up to you. You may want the petals thrown down right before you walk out. Like that's what the flower girl does. That's why she's a flower girl, is that she's throwing those flower petals onto the ground, and you are going to be coming out and walking through or on the flower petals. So it's going to be up to you and your honey on what you guys will decide on the procession order itself. Now, the next one is going to be the unity rings. Oh, the exchange of rings. Of course, that's important. Of course, that is an important tradition. You two will decide if you're going to be exchanging like the formal rings that you'll be wearing for the rest of your lives, or is it going to be more of a temporary rings that you guys have, and then later on you're going to go ahead and get the rings. Okay, the rings. So that is up to you on what you decide to do, but just know that unity rings are a typical tradition when it comes to the wedding. Now, the next one is going to be, oh, this is so good. Okay, this is the vow exchange. Okay, so exchanging of the vows. And a lot of times when it comes to a tradition, you will hear the officiant say the vows and you will repeat after them. You will repeat after him or her in the vow exchange. That's the tradition. We're going to talk about a different tradition that has been getting started as we go along with this. Okay, we're going to talk about some extras, but that's the traditional way, is the vow exchange with the officiant. And he's got some things, or she's got some words that are very specific to your marriage and your union that I truly believe are very, very important. But I hear a lot of people say, you know what, that's not going to be important to us. So we're not going to keep those specific type of vows in our wedding. It's up to you on what you guys want to do. But this is the day that you're sitting down and you're saying, okay, these are the kind of vows that we want to do. And then sitting down with your officiant, they're going to go over what they typically say, let no one separate the two of you. That's one of the ones that they put in there as a vow. Okay. And it's amazing. It's beautiful. And it's a little different than how I just said it because the Bible is very specific. Okay. It's very, very specific. And God gets it right. That's all I'm going to say. God gets it right when it comes to the vows. So you really want to take these seriously. Okay. You want to take it seriously. It's the whole reason why you're getting married. Hello. To become one. Okay. The unity rituals. So there are some different unity rituals that you see at most traditional weddings. And one of the ones that you see a lot is the candle lighting. So people will have the lighting of the candles. And with the lighting of the candles, it's just such a beautiful significance of the both of you coming together and blowing out the candles, okay, after you have lit the one together. So you'll light one together, blow it out, okay, and now you are one. Okay, I love it. I love it. I love this. I love this so much. Okay, so you decide if you guys are going to have the unity candle or not. So that's a beautiful tradition, but it's up to you. Reading from the Bible. So, different readings from the Bible. You can decide if you as a couple would like to keep, leave it or keep it when it comes to this tradition as well. And I love the readings from the Bible. I think that it's so beautiful. I really pay attention to every single wedding that I have gone to, every single wedding that I have been at. I pay attention to the readings, okay, to the readings in the Bible, but it's up to you. Like maybe that's something that you as a couple have decided, okay, we don't want the readings of the Bible at our ceremony. Well, that's between you and your honey. That's between you and your honey. So make sure that you guys decide what you want to do, okay? Make sure that you decide what you want to do. Our next one is going to be the sand pouring, okay? Sand pouring. So you take the sand, and they're usually two different colors, and then you're going to pour the sand into one jar, okay? So you're just going to pour it into one jar. And when you do that, when you pour the sand into one jar, it's signifying also that union, just like you had with the one candle. So it's signifying that union together of becoming one. Once again, this is a tradition. It doesn't mean that you have to do this tradition, okay? It doesn't mean that you have to do this tradition. But it's another beautiful tradition. It's amazing. It's awesome. I think it's perfect. And it's up to you as a couple if you're going to have it. Keep it or leave it, okay? Keep it or leave it. That's what we're doing. Wedding Traditions Edition, okay? The next one is communion. Are you going to be keeping communion? And communion is where you're going to be breaking bread. It's sometimes a cracker to signify. What can I speak? Signify the body, which is Jesus Christ, okay? And so then also the communion, you have the blood of Christ, which you're not actually drinking the blood or eating the body. These are signifying signifying those, okay? And so then you will either have like some form of juice, okay? So some form of juice to signify this. And so this is obviously a very Christian tradition. I do not like to see when people take communion and they are not Christian. The Lord, our good Lord says, do this in remembrance of me. If you are not Christian, you have no reason to be doing that. You have no reason to be doing that. Okay. So don't add that tradition in there. Don't think that because it's super beautiful to get married in a Catholic church, but yet you're not Catholic and you go sign papers to be Catholic because you want a Catholic traditional wedding in a church. Don't do that. You are not Catholic. Don't do that. I am not Catholic. I am Christian. So, and I'm saying this as a Christian, okay? Don't do that. Don't do that. So, leave it or keep it. Ah! Okay, leave it or keep it. So, what did we talk about? We talked about the processional order, leave it or keep it. Unity rings, leave it or keep it. I hope you're going to have rings. I hope you're going to exchange rings. Vow exchange, leave it or keep it. Unity rituals like candle lighting, leave it or keep it. Unity ritual like reading of the Bible, so Bible readings, leave it or keep it. Unity ritual like the sand pouring, leave it or keep it. And communion, leave it or keep it. These are your most traditional ceremonial practices that you will see at the majority of wedding ceremonies. This is the majority, so not all. And you don't have to have every single one of these, okay? Just remember that. Now, let's talk about some extras, some extra ceremonial practices in weddings that we're starting to see that people are turning into traditions. You guys saw my shoulders go up there. I don't know how I feel about these, and we are going to take a different episode to dive into what I really, really think about them. But today we're just talking about for your wedding, leave it or keep it. Okay, so you're going to do a little bit of research if you haven't been at some weddings recently and you haven't seen these. Okay, and so you're going to do a little bit of research and talk about what you think and decide. First look before the wedding ceremony. First look before the wedding ceremony. Leave it or keep it. The first look before the wedding ceremony has to do with people wanting these perfect pictures and the groom's reaction to the bride entering the room for the first time, rather than waiting until the ceremony itself. Rather than waiting, they are so excited to have his reaction on some form of camera, film, video, content creator, capture something. Okay. You guys know I'm a content creator, so I do like to remind us about that. We are the behind the scenes, fly on the wall creators. You know that. And so this is where you are going to be doing that first look if you decide to do the first look. Okay, so that's also part of that. Now, the other one is no bridal party. That is now becoming a trend at ceremonies. No bridal party at all. So you can decide to go back, way back, I guess, way back to when it's just you and him standing on that altar. So just the two of you standing on that altar. No bridal party. I have seen it to where people have had the bridal party sitting down. I was actually in a wedding like that where we came out, but then we sat down and I was like, this is weird. Like we sat in the front row, but super weird. We sat in the front row and that was just kind of different for me, but it's up to you. Keep it or leave it. No bridal party, keep it or leave it. It's becoming a wedding trend tradition. Put the officiant to the side of the couple. So you two will be in the middle on the altar, right? And you'll be looking at each other or you'll be looking forward at the officiant as he's talking or she is talking. And when you're doing that, every time you see photos and stuff, the officiant is going to be dead center in all of your pictures, including when you take your first kiss. Okay. So, so do you want to have them there or not? Meaning you can put the officiant to the side so they could be a little bit over from one of you and not be so prominent in the center where everything is happening. You'll still be able to hear them, like they won't be that far away from you. You can hear people talking when they're like 3 or 4 feet away from you. You'll be fine. You can hear everything that they're saying. But then the wedding, the ceremony becomes more about just the two of you being immersed in each other's love and dedication and commitment to each other. Okay. Rather than so much focus on you looking over at the officiant and paying attention to the officiant. And I mean, you got to pay attention. You still got to pay attention. You still got to hear the words that he or she is saying to you, especially when it comes to repeating the vows and all the goodness of the blessings that they're going to be speaking over you that day. But it's important that the two of you are also immersed in one another. Okay. It's your wedding day. And so when we start to make it about someone else, you can definitely see that prominence in the photos and videos. So it is something to think about. All right, put the officiant to the side, leave it or keep it. So keep it, I should say keep it first. Keep it or leave it. Only the bride can wear white. Keep it or leave it. Only the bride can wear white. So most wedding traditions will tell you that only the bride can wear white. Nobody else needs to be wearing white. It is her day. She needs to stand out. What do you think about it? Keep it or leave it? It's up to you guys. And when you are sitting down to plan your wedding, you gotta make these decisions. You gotta make these decisions, and it's good to make them now. That's why we're talking about it. That's why we're in season 2, episode 10, is because we're going step by step in planning your wedding, step by step, and we're planning it together. I want to hear from you guys. Maybe you think that this is crazy. Maybe you think I've lost my mind. Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, why is she bringing up this nonsense? Then tell me that. Tell me that, okay? So we talked about something that I didn't have here in my notes at all. I'm realizing that now. I did not have this one in my notes, and that was a tradition of we always see the first kiss as well as a tradition on the altar. And I think that most people wouldn't really have to vote for this one on keep it or leave it. We definitely want to keep it. We definitely want to keep it. And then the other one is the um if anybody should not think that they should be married, then forever hold your peace. I'm starting to see that one being thrown out. Like people are leaving it behind. They're not using that one anymore. That's what I'm starting to notice. So you guys tell me, like, would you keep it or leave it? I say keep it. If I'm voting, I say keep it. Like, I say keep it. But I know that some people might be like, no, that's really, really unnecessary. So just know that. So the first kiss and the if anybody should not agree with this marriage, then forever hold your peace. They tell you to say something now, like speak up now, or forever hold your. I have not been to a wedding where anybody has said anything. I've only seen that in like movies and like TV shows and stuff. I've not seen it like in person. But that would be so crazy. That would be so crazy. There will be full episodes coming of the last few that I mentioned, which is the first look. We're going to do a full episode on my thoughts and reactions on that. The no bridal party, we're also going to have full episodes on that. So you guys be on the lookout. Putting the officiant to the side, we will have a full episode on that as well. And if only the bride could wear white, we're also going to have a full episode on that because I want to dive more into those. I want to really, really dive into what it's like and what it's not like to have those as traditions. But for now, this is just us, you know, touching the iceberg and you getting a chance as a couple to decide, okay, as we're planning, do we want this or not? Do we want to do this? Remember to sit down as a couple when talking about these things. Remember to take the time to really think about it. And it's really between you two. I know a lot of people are like, oh, but my mom, my dad, this is what they want us to do. This is what my grandma would have wanted, and things like that. And it's like, yeah, that's great. But what do you two want? Because it's going to feel very awkward and out of place if you're just appeasing others. It's going to feel very, very like forced, very forced. So take the time to think about, is this what the two of you want to do? All right. That's why we said keep it or leave it. So you're writing all those down, keep it or leave it. We are in round two. We are in round two of Keep It or Leave It Wedding Traditions Edition. So in round two, we're going to be talking about what type of wedding do you want to have? The type, specifically when it comes to the courthouse, the church. Those are tradition. Those are wedding traditions that I don't think people realize that's actually the traditional way to have a wedding ceremony. To get married is a church, in a church, or at a courthouse. Remember when I said, don't go becoming Catholic just because their buildings are so beautiful and they're so perfect. And you're like, oh my gosh, we had to have a Catholic wedding because it's so pretty in there. And like, it just wouldn't be right. And this is what my ancestors would have wanted. And I'm a descendant of them. And so like, I would just not be doing it right if I don't do it this way. You just look ridiculous. So, I mean, you don't, but you guys know what I'm saying here. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, take the time out to decide, okay, do we really, really want a wedding that is going to be traditional in that way, that it's for, going to be at the church because we are actually a part of a church. Okay. That's why you want to be having a wedding at the church, not because somebody else is telling you to have a wedding at the church. Okay. And then also when it comes to the courthouse, if you have a family member that's saying, well, why don't you just go to the courthouse, and that's not what you want to do, then don't go to the courthouse. Don't go to the courthouse. I know that it's tradition to go to the courthouse, but it doesn't mean that that's where you have to have your wedding. Okay? It doesn't mean that that's where you have to have your wedding. So let's talk about some other places to get married that are not the courthouse or the church. Like I said, most people don't realize that's actually tradition. Keep it or leave it. Keep it or leave it. Church or courthouse. Those are the traditional ones. Keep it or leave it. Let's talk about some other wedding venues that are not actually tradition, but that people feel like are tradition, but they're actually not. They're actually not. Those wedding venues that you look it up, online somewhere, or you're driving down the street and you see a venue that talks about their wedding and events venue, blah, blah, blah. It usually says it biggest day right there. They'll have a name, and in smaller letters, it'll say wedding and events venue. Okay. This is up to you. Do you want to have your wedding in one of those venues? There's a lot of pros and cons to having your wedding in those venues. Okay. So you really, really got to weigh that, and you've got to start listening to people that are giving you advice about these venues, especially if they've already gone through having weddings at a venue and they know how this works and how like things aren't always what they seem and what you see on like social media or on Google Maps. Okay. So please understand, anybody can doctor pictures. Anyone can say that they have these perfect reviews, but it's going to be up to you to really do some real homework when it comes to venues and to see if that's what you want. That's what they're supposed to try to look and entice you with all the stuff that's better than getting married at the courthouse. Obviously, that's what they're going to do. Okay. And then if you're not part of a church, they're like, well, these are where people go who aren't part of a church. And so, we cater to that. And there are people who don't want to get married at their church because their church isn't decorated already to, you know, head to toe, floor to ceiling like it is at a cathedral, a Catholic church. So people aren't wanting to get married in those churches anymore, right? So it's up to you, leave it or keep it when it comes to a wedding venue. But just know there are pros and cons to that. Let's look at our next one that is becoming traditions. And this is going to be destination weddings. Okay. Destination weddings are becoming huge, but destination weddings have a lot of hidden fees. You have to make sure that you do some research before you go ahead and decide and get your heart settled on, all right, we're going to Puerto Rico. Like, you need to make sure that Puerto Rico is a good idea. You've got hotels everybody has to get, flights everybody has to get. That's already the biggest like expense for everyone right out the gate. Right out the gate. So you want to be sure that you're looking at what is going to be the total cost before you decide, okay, we are doing a destination wedding. Even when it comes to cruise ships, all that stuff, you just have to think about it. You have to think about it and take all of this into consideration. Okay. Now, this is the one that I think that most people haven't thought about when it comes to what type of wedding are you having, is having a wedding at home, having a wedding at somebody's house, having a wedding at a house. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely perfect if you ask me. Like, if I were to do it over again, oh my gosh, I saw the backyard that I wanted to use, and I could not believe our mentor couple never, ever, ever, ever shared with us that backyard. We had been inside their house, but we hadn't been into their backyard until after our wedding. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this was back here. It was literally a garden oasis, and it was large enough for 60 to 70 people. And all we would have had to do was add like the extra like honeydew wagons where you have, or honeydew, they're not honeydew wagons, they're honey wagons that have the restrooms in them where it's got air conditioning and the hand washing station and all that. Oh, that's all we would have had to add. That's all we would have had to add to it. And so just looking back on that, I'm like, ooh, I would have definitely had a wedding at home. And like, I mean, it had the like spiral sidewalk where the sidewalk like curved and all that. Oh my goodness. And then like the waterfall coming down from the hot tub and the steam coming off the hot tub. It would have been so perfect. It would have been so perfect because nobody would have been in the pool or hot tub. But it's just the idea that it was surrounded with like cement, and like the cement was not your typical cement. It was, what am I trying to say? It's not cement. It's the stones. I'm calling it cement. It's the big, large stones that surrounded the pool on the outer sides and cascaded the hot tub because the hot tub was above the pool. Guys, it was a thing. Okay, just know you need to sit down and figure out which wedding venue are you. What are you using for the wedding? Okay, what type of wedding venue are you gonna have? Okay. So, and you have to say, keep it or leave it. Keep it or leave it. Keep it or leave it. The other one is, I didn't think people thought about this at all, is like community spaces in neighborhoods. So these community spaces are in a lot of these neighborhoods, and people don't realize that they don't even cost very much. As of the day I'm making this video, a lot of those community spaces are sometimes free, $100 or $200, and that's it for you to have your wedding. For you to have your wedding. So if you got a smaller wedding that's probably around 20 to 30 people, you really want to think about using those spaces because they have all the chairs. They have all the chairs, they have all the tables. It's a kitchen, they have bathrooms. What more do you need? You just decorate it, decorate it, decorate. Decorate is like the key. Decorate, 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 decorate. If you're going to save money on the venue, then you need to go ahead and make sure that walls, floors, chairs are decorated, because people forget about the walls, the floors, and the chairs, and they just decorate the tables. Don't forget about those. Another one that people are starting to make like tradition is more of the like stuff that you see in the community. So like a park, museums, things like that. People are starting to go into like museums and theaters and have weddings there or at a park. And I don't think a lot of people really consider those and give those real thought. So it's up to you right now to sit down and decide, what type of wedding venue are we going to be using. That is the end part of round 2. Let's hit it into round 3. Round 3, wedding tradition edition of Keep It or Leave It. Discuss and finalize these things. Okay, we're going to go through them very quickly. Talk about the style of the wedding, the colors of your wedding, the attire of your wedding. So the attire for you that you envision, and the attire for your guest. Don't leave your guest out, okay? The aesthetic of your wedding and the theme of your wedding. So once again, that's the style, colors, attire, and aesthetic and theme of your wedding. These 5 things need to be really, really defined. And I'm going to tell you why. The style of your wedding, if you don't realize what the style of your wedding is and you start playing around with all kinds of stuff, it's just going to look like a mod podge of things because you like didn't really decide on what kind of wedding you really wanted. When you look at fabrics, flowers, the lighting, even like how do you want it to look in there? You know, do you want it to be daylight? Do you want it to be at night? Do you want candle lights? All these things, you have to really think about the style of your wedding. The colors. The colors are very important as well. Most of us, or should I say, us neutral girlies out here, we like white. We like, don't give us any color. We just want white. And I'm very thankful that I do also love the colors red and gold. They really pop for anything, including on me as clothing and for accessories and decor. Those are my favorite things to design with, are the colors white, gold, and red. You want to make sure that you are picking some colors that go well with you as well as with your honey. If he doesn't look good in a certain color, don't force him to wear that color. That's why it's good to have 3 different colors, okay? 3 different colors are my advice. And you want to have more than that, go ahead. But at least 3 colors. The attire. Think about the attire for the groom as well as the bride. You need to figure out right now, start looking at your visions and your vision boards. Remember, we've already made the mock-up vision board. We've already made that you're adding into along the way. Some of you may have already finished it because you were excited and you already put every single thing down from the wedding proposal all the way to the wedding day and all the events in between. You probably already have all the vision for that already, for all of the attire that you're going to be wearing. And that's good that you've thought about yourself. But also remember the guest. Something that I know I did not focus on was the guest. And you'll hear more of that in our story time when it comes to our wedding. I just thought about us. I focused on us. And so you don't want to be wearing, you know, a certain theme or attire, and then your guests show up and completely the opposite. And it's like, well, what are they wearing? So, and that's your fault. And that's your fault because you didn't tell them the inspo, right? So also be getting inspo for the guest. It's very, very important. The aesthetic. When you walk into wherever you're going to have this wedding, whatever venue you decided to use, even if it's a park, okay? Even if it's a park, you want to have a feel. What do you want to feel? Okay. Do you want to feel like very royal in the cathedral style weddings. That's why a lot of people choose those, because they feel very royal. And it's hard to find a venue that's very royal if it's not those venues, because a lot of them don't exist unless you find an amazing historic museum or an amazing theater that brings out that royalness. So if you're looking for a royal wedding, you got to do a lot of research and trying to find that. Okay. If you're looking for a barnyard wedding, you're going to have to find a barn and someone that's like affordable, probably, because like it's probably not going to be inexpensive to use somebody's barn. So it's going to be up to you. You need to figure out, what does that feel, okay? And if you use a place like a community center in a neighborhood and it's just bare walls, or you use a pretty much just anywhere with just bare walls, okay? If it's, anywhere they could be. I'm trying to think of another place besides a community center, but that's the one that's coming to mind right now. So we're going to go with that. And it's got like those bare walls. Is that what you want to see when you walk in? What's the aesthetic? What's the aesthetic? I know that you want lots and lots of flowers, but there has to be more to it, because those yellow, nasty walls, you need more than just that. Okay. Think about adding in a photo op area, maybe something like that, where you take a big wall, not a tiny little corner, but take a big wall and really like decorate that to your theme. Okay. And then put some of those around the venue as well. Decorate the floors, decorate the chairs. Don't forget wall, chairs, floors. You're going to hear me say it a lot because people keep forgetting and it doesn't look good. And then they walk in and they're like, oh, this is not what I envisioned for my day. Well, because you didn't think about the walls, chairs, and floors. That's why. Okay. So it all has to like mesh together, not just the tables. Think about your theme. Your theme kind of goes along with the aesthetic. So your theme kind of goes along with that. I see a lot of people are having like the Bridgerton theme, and I see a lot of the barnyard theme going around, which is totally cool. They are really both opposites of each other, and it's all about people's aesthetic and what they want. Do they want like a classic or traditional wedding in a church or things like that? And that's also part of your theme. So this is all like your keep it or leave it in the round 3 section. You two have to sit down and say, okay, we're taking this moment to decide on what we want. We need to do it. We have to do it. And the way that you're going to start doing that is just by starting to talk about like what you guys really like and start getting some ideas. Another way to get some ideas, well, we'll talk more about where to find inspiration for all this stuff. Okay. We'll do a different episode on where to find inspiration, because we are running a little bit out of time today. All right. We are now at our segment called Be My Guest. I would love to have you here on the Wedding Series podcast with me. We can sit down, we can hang out, we can talk. You don't have to share anything that you don't want to share, but I would like to have, because it's good to share. It's good to talk about things that have gone really, really well in the wedding planning process, things that are becoming stressful, things that you're just like, okay, I've had enough. I've had enough of this. This is too much. This is picking out colors and picking out things and trying to find a wedding venue that fits with us and that fits our budget. It can be a lot. I know that it's a lot, you guys. And that's why I want you to reach out and let's talk about it. Let's figure this out together. I'm here as a resource to you. Okay. I'm here as a resource to you. And on our video call, we don't have to record it. But if you do want me to record it and post it here on the platform so that others that are also planning their wedding, who want to share, like who want to listen in and share in as well, and hear your thoughts on how things went or how things are going, it's going to help somebody. Okay. It's going to help somebody. It's going to help somebody. So I want you to think about it, and we'll record it and I can share it here on the platform. People will share their thoughts as well as they're listening to us talk about it and just have a casual little talk. Okay. The way that you do that is by reaching out to me at yourcontentcreator@yahoo.com. And guess what? I will see you lovebirds in the next episode. Guys, that's it. We're out of time. I know it's been good. I know it's been awesome. I know you wish we could go for longer, but we can't. So we're going to be continued and talk some more on our next episode. Hopefully I'll see you lovebirds tomorrow. Bye.